I like to take since we're in discussion items, I like to jump around a little bit, and it relates to the COVID transition. Was this item I brought up at the last meeting about a creation of a special board committee related to the re-engagement and rebuilding and returning the students to school in the fall. So my preference would be to get people's feedback if we're interested in doing this on 1 or 2 days over the summer, to really let the administration share those plans that Dr. Skinkis referenced in that PowerPoint we saw in our Friday packet. Dr. Freitas had a number of points about COVID that we've talked about, whether it's learning loss or social emotional learning support and some of the programs that are being put in place for our students. So I think having a special committee would allow us to have a deeper dive and really get into some of those details and hear what the administration has been working on, because they've been putting a lot of time and effort into making this transition as robust and helpful for all of our students as possible. So with the board's support, I'd like to bring that as a motion at the next meeting to actually form this special committee.
And that's item E, right?
Yes.
Okay. How will it will be a public meeting each time?
Since it's
Yes.
it's a committee of the board.
Committee of the whole, special committee of the board. So it's a public meeting. We could do it as a hybrid. We could do it, filmed, or we could do it all on Zoom, which would allow different people to participate. We could do it during the day, which might be helpful. If we did it, 8 to 10 o'clock on a Friday, might allow some different access.
Board members, are we required to be here?
No.
No, so we had one about 4 years ago, before you came on the board. But Ramona may remember, it was right when you first were elected. So there were 2 board members that were part of it. And if any other board members want to attend, then you attend as guest. You were not part of that committee. So there were 3 board members, which then you made it, mandated it to be open meeting. So I think it was probably maybe before you came on, because it was John, myself, Dr. Skinkis. It was a
Well,
curriculum.
there actually would be 2 different ways to do it. You could do a board committee would be as you're describing with
And that's what you're
majority
saying,
of
it's
the
a board committee, and it's open to the public.
Right, but a committee of the whole would be open to the full board.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so if it's a committee of the whole, then it's the whole, and then we got to publish it 24
Yeah.
hours
Yes.
ahead. Yeah.
But we were talking, Ms. Dalis and I talked when preparing the agenda. I said if we'd like to, because the our admin team, with summer school and then the school starting in August, a lot of our assistant principals and stuff have vacation days they have to use. And so it may work better trying to do this as a committee of the whole via Zoom, open to the public, and it could be a public recorded meeting, but then it's an opportunity where they can come during work hours and contribute, and really give them an opportunity to report out on, have Mr. Manning report on, and this is what we're doing for safety procedures, this is what we're doing for the lunches, et cetera. Ms. Lindquist can dive into the rebound or the, making up for the learning. And so we just thought it would be probably more suitable for a lot of, I think Zoom is replacing a lot of meetings in the work setting. And so this might be an opportunity to make it easier for the board to accommodate their schedules as well this summer.
So then, if we're going to do a committee of a whole, then we would have to make sure we get a quorum, though, right? About 4.
So you need 4, correct.
At least 4 members attend.
So we'd have to find a date that worked for the majority of the board, certainly, yeah.
Okay. Were you thinking to have outside members part of that committee, or is this strictly a board committee of the whole?
I would envision this as strictly a board committee of the
Okay.
whole, and certainly there'd be a chance for public comment,
Right.
like any other meeting.
Right.
But it's really, the way I'm thinking about it is a chance for the administration to showcase some of the work they've been doing in a level of detail we just don't get to in a regular board meeting, and focused very much on that return to school in the fall and what it looks like.
Okay. Well, then I suppose if you're moving in that direction too, you could be, you might want to think about, you could designate another person to kind of chair it. And they would kind of report up to you, that way that way you're not chairing 2 meetings.
Yes.
That way, yeah. They would work kind of with you, and you, as you devise that plan for the vote for the next meeting.
No, and I would suggest that this is not a regularly occurring meeting. I think, in my opinion, it would be a 1 meeting, and then if there was a need for a follow-up, if there were some real precise follow-up questions, a second one could get scheduled, but I'm not suggesting it, meets weekly or monthly or anything along those lines.
So then another thing, when you do something like that, typically, again, you would set kind of like a sunset, like a purpose of it. Kind of like this is something that we'll investigate maybe over the summer. Or, you know, like have an endpoint in mind. And then if you need to extend it, then that would be another motion. But that way it does have a life.
Sure.
And you have a certain target that you're aiming at. And then if you get to when you get to the end of that target, you might discover that there's more that you need, and you need to continue it or keep it going, or you're done, you're satisfied.
Sure. So I would suggest we can bring a motion, a resolution motion to the board at the next meeting, and would include some of those details.
Yeah.
We can vote on it and maybe
Right.
tweak it if we need to during that process, and then we could, the goal would be to have this meeting in June at some point.
Okay, yeah, and I'm
Okay.
just, giving you some ideas so that when you bring it for, next meeting, it's ready to roll.
Sure. No, thank you. Any other comments or feedback on that particular matter?
I just think it's a great idea, certainly has my support, and I know we all hope that it's gonna be nothing like last summer,
Yeah.
but we're not out of this thing yet. It's going in the right direction, but I think anything we can do to continue discussing how we can, catch up, but also, I just think it's a good idea. It's an opportunity to communicate to members of the community and members of the building. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay, so we'll have some more details on the next agenda, and we can talk through those at that point and hopefully get moving forward.
Okay.
So,
Having seen the plans that have been
yeah.
put in process so far, there's a lot to talk about, so for us to be informed in that way, I think is a good opportunity for us to also invite the public to view it, especially if it's on Zoom. It's something that may be easily enough attended for those curious to know the expectations going into next year, so I am in support as well.
Okay. Very good. Then, again, we're still on discussion items, so we'll get to the details at the next meeting, but I appreciate everyone's support.